Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Transform with Angel show. I'm your host, Angel Carlton Anderson, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I am sharing a special presentation that I gave a couple of years ago during a virtual event hosted by a company called Glorium Technologies. I had the honor of emceeing the two-day event on transformation in healthcare technology. This talk explores the concept of change, where I explain how change shows up in our lives so we can anticipate change and not be so fearful of the unknown. I also explore a high-level overview of the 6 stages of transformation that we experience every single time we experience change in our life. That's the cycle that gets a little bumpy at times, especially now with so much change happening in our life. I thought this would be a timely thing to share on the Transform with Angel show with all of you, because I know I'm not the only one going through it. Lately, I've been navigating my own season of transformation. It's nothing dramatic, just life doing life, unfolding in very powerful ways between family celebrations, travel, and the recent passing of my beloved aunt. I have found myself needing to pause, regroup, and realign. During this time, I am also focused on growing my business, sharpening my skills. I'm actually going back to school for learning some new skills. With all of this unfolding, I've made the decision to shift the podcast from weekly episodes to a bi-weekly schedule. So I'll be throwing out shows every other week. I have so much content to share. The problem is I'm a one-woman show. I am doing the writing, the creating, the producing, the editing, the promoting of all of it. And it tends to be a little time consuming. So until I start building the team who can help me with some of this, I have to put some of the efforts on the other parts of my business, which is speaking and bringing transformational programs to the workplaces and to organizations. But don't worry, this is definitely not goodbye. I am so excited to see the growth in this podcast and the interest in these topics. It literally feeds my soul. So this is something I will make time for. In fact, I will be back in June to kick off season number 2 with brand new episodes. So if there's something that you're wanting to hear more about, I will share transformational perspectives around that. I've got so much planned for the next season. I can hardly wait to share it with you. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy this replay. If you are curious about bringing the transformation process into your organization, your place of work, I'd love to connect. So please reach out to me. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you found this video to be helpful, be sure to hit that like button or share it with somebody who may need to hear this same message. And be sure to visit my website, transformwithangel.com, to get your free download of my latest book, How to Conquer Anything. We're in this together, so let's get through this together. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the presentation, and I will see you soon.
A little bit about myself is I help people navigate change so they transform into a greater version of themselves. I'm a transformation coach. I've authored 2 books on the topics of change and personal transformation. I've co-hosted podcasts and radio shows, and I'm the current co-host of a podcast where we are talking about all of the changes happening in our world today and how to navigate through them. We're providing some tools and resources to help you get through these difficult times. Change is not easy. I've also done a lot of leadership training for companies like AT&T, Citgo Petroleum, Stellis Pharmaceuticals, and continue to train on a contract basis. It's one of my passions and joys. Fun fact about me, I'm a former NBA professional cheerleader for the Chicago Bulls back in the Michael Jordan era. And today, I still hold the pom-poms as a cheerleader for change. I'm a huge advocate in helping people get through these times. I am thrilled to bring this message to you. If there's been one theme with all of our presenters today, it's been change. How technology has changed the dynamic of healthcare. That's what this summit is all about. Technology has changed our world. Some has been beneficial, some hasn't, but in the healthcare field, much of it, most of it, and a lot of what Glorium Technologies is up to today has certainly benefited the healthcare industry. So we thank you for all the work that you are doing in helping the healthcare field advance and become more innovative, as we are all participants in healthcare these days, especially. But I am here to talk about change and how to become more resilient in times of change. The world is speeding up, and I'm sure you all will agree. In fact, there was a study done that the pace of change is doubling every year. This was before the pandemic. Now it is quadrupling with the rapid pace of all the technology coming into our lives and all of the changes happening in our personal lives and the people around us. It's very difficult for us to keep up. And this is why the healthcare workers of today have earned the title heroes, because of all the change that they endure day in and day out. In our personal lives, we can relate to this, but imagine the day in the life of a healthcare worker and the minute by minute changes that they experience throughout the day, especially since the pandemic. It's got to be absolutely exhausting. And there's just not enough time for them to rebound. Well, I'm here to share with you a process that I've discovered in my own personal transformation journey and how to navigate these changes. There is a natural cycle of change. And if we pay attention to it, if we develop an awareness around this cycle, it will help us anticipate and adapt. I mean, how cool would that be to anticipate the unpredictable circumstances in our lives and then adapt quicker so that we're not exhausted at the end of the day? Because the problem is, life is throwing all this change at us, and we've never been properly trained on how to navigate it. A lot of people, some people can sail through it, no problem, with ease and grace. Others are just white knuckling through it until one day we just snap because the stress level and anxiety is so high. There's a reason why mental health therapy is becoming so prevalent, as some of our speakers have pointed out today, and the importance of taking care of our well-being. So a couple of the things that I want to share with you today is to help you understand how change impacts our lives. Let's pay attention to this thing called change, because we know it's happening, but have we ever really thought about how it impacts our lives? I will help you develop a healthier and new perspective of change, maybe look at it a little bit differently, and align with this natural cycle so that it eases the stress. Help you discover also a sense of purpose through these times of transitions. And you got to love the remote situation. I have no control over the landscapers outside, so I apologize in advance for the background noise. The timing is absolutely awful. There's one thing that sticks in my mind, and that is how change causes stress. Before the pandemic, I read a study in Forbes magazine that 45% of our society is living under extreme stress. Not moderate stress, not high stress, but extreme stress due to the rapid changes happening in our lives. It used to be maybe 1 or 2 changes would occur in a year. Think about the business world. You might change a software program or change a policy and procedure maybe twice a year. Now we're introducing new technology into our worlds every single day, it seems like. And with that, 45% of society, that's nearly half. This was before the pandemic, by the way, so I have to believe that this number has increased. I mean, that's nearly half the people in our workplace. That's nearly half of our family members. That's nearly half of our circle of friends. That's nearly half of our neighbors. nearly half of the people on the roadways. I think we can see that in the way people are driving. It's just nearly half of the people that we come across. You can see the stress in their eyes. So I think it's time we learn to adapt to change so that we can become better humans. Because I look at change a little differently than most people. I love change. I'm one of those weirdos. I adapt to it. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable, but I've realized that this discomfort and awkward feeling is what transformation feels like. And I've learned to embrace it because change is truly a gift. It's a gift because it allows us to grow. When change occurs in our lives, some event or something, we immediately go into a transformation process. And from that transformation process is where the growth occurs. And when we start growing, we become a more evolved human being. And couldn't this world use some more evolved humans walking around? So let's take this thing called change and dissect it a little bit, take a closer look, because if we're going to learn to anticipate change and sense when it's coming, we got to know how it shows up, right? Well, in my book, Staying Afloat During Tides of Change, I outline how change shows up, and it shows up in 4 ways, what I refer to as the 4 E's. So I like to say ease change with the 4 E's. The first way, and if you've got notes, write these down. The first way change shows up in our lives is through events. That is the first E, events. Think of all the events that have occurred in your life that have gotten you to where you are today. Not to mention, you decided which college to go to. You graduated college, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Maybe you started your career. You moved out of your house with your parents. You're on your own. You found your new house. You bought a new house. These are all events. You met the love of your life. You got married. That's an event. Maybe you've changed jobs. Maybe you've changed neighborhoods. All these are events. Maybe you had a child. That's an event that changes your life. Maybe you've gotten divorced. Maybe there's a death of a loved one. These are all events that when they happen, the transformation process begins to go into effect, and it impacts our lives individually. The next way change shows up is through an encounter with another person, with another human. Our relationships. When we meet somebody, many times that will put us on another path that will transform our lives. Think about the mentors you've had, the teachers you've had, the relationships you've had, the bosses you've had, the strangers you've met that may have said something that shifted your day. When we have an encounter with somebody, you better believe it, transformation goes into effect. Now, how we deal with that transformation, we'll get to in a moment. The third E, and the third way change occurs in our life, is something called an epiphany. If you've never had an epiphany, it's a pretty powerful moment. It's what some people would call an aha moment. It's what some people would call an immediate shift in your belief system. It's like the rose-colored shades all of a sudden come off and you see a situation or your life with clarity. Some people will call it a spiritual awakening, but epiphanies are extremely powerful because they are instantaneous. And once the epiphany occurs, you're past the point of no return. You can't go back to seeing life the way it was. You're immediately on the road. Yeah, the transformation. The fourth way change shows up, the fourth E, is when it's essential. This is when you actually get to choose the change and you get to set the intention on what's going to change in your life. It's when it's essential for your health, for your well-being. Maybe you've gone to the doctor, they said you better lose weight, or you're going to have some complications. You better quit smoking. You're only going to live for 5 more years. Your spirit is dying and you got to get out of this toxic relationship. And so you choose to change whatever situation. Maybe it's a job to better your career. It's when it's essential for your well-being. Know that when you make those choices for change, your life is beginning to transform. Those are the 4 E's. And when you look at the changes happening in your life, you have to ask yourself, what occurred immediately after these events, these encounters, these epiphanies, these essential moments and choices that you've made? You immediately went into what I call the 6 stages of transformation. And when we become aware of this cycle, this process that we experience, it creates a little bit of ease in knowing, this is where I am in the transformation process. This is where I've been, and this is where I'm going. Take a breather. It's transformation. We are all experiencing it right now. I believe if you are wearing this human earth suit, we're all experiencing some level of transformation in our lives on a very personal level. We are evolving at a very rapid pace. Some of us are aware of it, and some of us aren't. But I'm about to introduce to you these 6 stages of transformation. So get your pen and paper ready. The first stage of transformation and becoming resilient in these chaotic times is realize. 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 What is it that you have to realize in this first stage? Well, naturally, we realize, OMG, my life is changing. It will never be the same. And now what do I do? Sometimes we just go with the flow and, go wherever it takes us. Other people are very methodical and strategize. But regardless, we have to realize that change is happening. This event occurred, and it could be a happy event, like a marriage or a baby. But you will know your life is changing. And the pandemic is a perfect example that we've all experienced of the oh my God moment. I think we all sat there watching the television with our jaws open saying, is this really happening? And then realizing, yes, it is. Wow. Our world will never be the same. And so those are the types of things that you realize in this very first stage of transformation, because the pandemic, certainly an event that put us on this path. But becoming aware of how this change is impacting you, really creating a genuine self-awareness of how it's impacting you. What impact does it have on your life? What impact will having a baby or getting married or changing jobs have? Take time to think about that. And then what we don't do at this stage, which is highly beneficial in building resiliency, is envisioning the best possible outcome. I think Stephen Covey said it best: begin with the end in mind. The best possible outcome. Visualize. There is so much power in visualization, and we don't take the time to visualize our full potential through this process. So I invite you to take a moment, and maybe it's before you go to bed at night. Maybe you pause this recording if you're watching the recording and close your eyes for a minute and just imagine the greatest version of who you are. I mean, really see yourself. Notice how you walk into a room in your full potential. What's your posture like? What's your facial expression like? Are you smiling? Are you making eye contact with people in the room? Are they looking at you and excited to see you and responding? And when you engage with people, are they genuinely happy to see you? And you shake their hands, or fist bump, or elbow pump, whatever it is we're doing today. How are you responding in your highest form? And then if somebody were to ask you, hey, we're so glad you're here, and hand you the microphone and say, would you share a few words of wisdom with us? Of course you say yes. You grab that microphone confidently and you start sharing some wisdom from your experiences in life. We all have it. We all have an individual experience of life and something that will benefit another human being on this planet. What is the message you share? If something comes to mind right now, I encourage you, write it down. Because that message, there's something decoded in that message. It's a little something called purpose. And when you can align that purpose with what you do every day, it will help build resiliency. You will become a more resilient human. I promise you that. So dig deep, excavate, and find that inner wisdom so that you can align with that purpose. That's the realized stage. The next stage is release. This is the most difficult part of transformation. I have to admit, nobody likes letting go. We want to hang on to everything we've got, right? It's like one of our speakers was saying earlier. He has the same breakfast every day, and we don't like change. Well, guess what? Things like the pandemic released a bunch of things for us, like freedom, for example, and the ability to connect face to face, and all those things that were just stripped from us were very uncomfortable. And so, anytime change occurs, that transformation process begins. Release is going to be a part of this process. Something is going to be let go. If your doctor says, yeah, you got to lose weight, guess what? You got to give up the potato chips. And it's that simple. But something that needs to be released. And if it's a change you're putting in motion, like an unhealthy habit, thought, or behavioral pattern that you don't like about yourself, that doesn't fit that vision, or it doesn't align with that highest vision you just had of yourself, let it go. Toxic relationships, let it go. Emotional, psychological barriers like fear, doubt, worry, procrastination, perfectionism. Some things just don't benefit us on the transformation path. They take our energy, and it's not beneficial energy. And so I invite us all just to take a deep breath right now, because releasing hasn't been easy. And if there's something that you're ready to let go of, release it in taking a deep breath. Just let it go. And sometimes have a little sigh go with that exhale. It really does help, especially throughout the day. And I encourage our health workers to do the same. Release that tension that you're having as change is occurring minute by minute. And just remember that you are amazing. The third stage of transformation is something called the rebound stage. This is the stage of recovery, rejuvenation. It's essential for us to move through it in a healthy way. This is all day we've been talking about healthcare. Well, it's time we take our own health in our own hands at times like this, especially when it has to do with stress and managing our stress. So rebounding from whatever change you're going through, good, bad, or otherwise, it's a time to recover from whatever loss you experience. It's time to grieve. Maybe you do cry. You'll feel a sense of loneliness, depression even. Depression is a natural part of the human experience, by the way. You'll feel an emptiness or a void inside you because all this stuff has been released. And now you've got this space. Well, we're about to fill it up with something new. But just know that when you're rebounding, these are the feelings that you will experience. And you have to say to yourself, this is what transformation feels like. So it's time to manage your stress, nurture yourself, have a stress management plan in place. I was training at a telecommunications company, and one of the managers that was in this leadership development course shared a story with me. He said, I had the most stressful day of my career. The unimaginable happened. He had to fire one of his best technicians. He got chewed out by his boss. He had to deal with an irate customer. His truck broke down on the highway. He had to call somebody to pick him up and drive him home. And he could barely catch his breath on the way home. And his buddy was like, hey, are you going to be all right? I mean, you sure you don't want me to take you to ER? It's like, no, just take me home. So takes him home, drops him off. He gets out of the car, says, thanks, man, appreciate the ride. Walks up to his front door, but he stops for a minute. He grabs the branch of the tree in the front yard. And just then, his little 3-year-old girl opens the front door and screams, Daddy's home. And then his beautiful wife, holding their new baby, says, hi, sweetheart. And he walks into his home, smiling, kisses his wife hello, waves goodbye to the buddy as he's pulling out of the driveway. And his friend is like, what? Was that the same person I just dropped off? And so the next morning, his friend could not wait to pick him up for work the next day. And he asked him, how did you do that? I saw what kind of day you had. I've had days like that. I saw the condition you were in when I dropped you off. Yet you walked into your house smiling and happy. How did you do that? Teach me how to do that. He said, I leave it on the tree. I don't take that into my house with my family. I don't take that kind of energy and stress to my home around my kids. He said, but I know I got to deal with it. So I take it back the next day, but somehow it's a little easier to deal with. What's your branch? What's your tree? Have a plan because change isn't slowing down. Have a network, have a support system, have somebody on speed dial that you can talk to in times where you are on the edge. Those are recommendations to staying resilient. We need each other to get through this. That's the rebound stage. And once you rebound, and there's no time frame on these stages, they're not exactly linear either. You can spiral up and down through all of them at any time. But once you start rebounding, you start feeling pretty good about yourself again, and you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and that vision's becoming clearer and clearer. You start taking those action steps, and it's something I call the reinvent stage. And this is when you're making those different choices, practicing those new behaviors, and aligning with that highest vision you have of yourself. This is the time to believe in yourself. This is the time to tap into that network. I always ask my audience, how many of you have heard the words spoken to you? I believe in you. Have you ever had anybody, a mentor, a teacher, a coach, a parent, a friend, say those things to you? I believe in you. Well, if nobody has said those things to you lately, I'm telling you now, I believe in you. The reinventing stage is about trying on our best self. We're going to stumble and fall. It's not going to be perfect, but we have to try to get through these change, step out of that comfort zone. When you get the chance, please share with somebody else those 4 magical words, especially our kids. They need to hear it today more than ever. The reinventing stage is wonderful. And as those practices start becoming second nature, we evolve into the next stage of transformation, which is the resurrect stage. This is when we truly rise above the ashes. We have risen above all the change, all of the chaos that we've been through. Life starts to balance out and normalize again, right? We've all been there. It's like, whoo, life is good. This is part of the life roller coaster that we're all on. Your authentic self is in full bloom. Your full potential is in living force. You have this renewed sense of purpose, and you've got clarity. You've got a heightened intuition where you just have a knowing of how things work. You're just sparking on all cylinders. Manifestations, messengers, and you start flowing with life. It's a magical time, isn't it? In this resurrect stage after you've overcome all this stuff. Well, problem is we don't stay there. So that's the challenge. How do we stay here as long as possible? Because change is going to happen and knock us down that spiral again, right? So I like to use the power of gratitude. If you're grateful for everything, it just manifests more of it. Take some time to be grateful for everything that is occurring in your life. Again, the power of self-awareness. And the other thing is through affirmations. One of my affirmations that I start my day with that keeps me in this heightened level, in this stage, is I'm the happiest, healthiest, wealthiest version of my truest self, exploring the infinite possibilities and unlimited potential of my divine nature. And it's a reminder of why I'm on this planet every day. Come up with an affirmation that has meaning to you to build that resiliency. In the final stage, as I close up this presentation, is the rebound stage. Is the respond stage. We've already rebounded. We don't want to go through that again. Respond. You get this far on the transformation journey, you've got a responsibility, and that is to sustain this level of awareness for one, but to share your wisdom, share your story, use your message to inspire and encourage others who've been where you are, and create some positive change on this planet. We need it. We need leaders for life. I see it like a spiral staircase as I close up here. And that is, you take that first step, you look up the spiral and you're like, wow, that sure is narrow. And I can barely see the top of it. And it's a little intimidating, but you keep going. And so you take the railing and you walk slowly up this spiral staircase, and you realize you've got this heavy backpack with all this stuff you've been carrying, and it's weighing you down. And so you're like, what? I don't need stuff in this backpack. Fear, shame, guilt, whatever it is, you let it go. And you may have to sit and recover and rebound, catch your breath, sit on the step. You look up, you see how far you've gone. You say, I've got this. And so you start climbing up the stairs again, reinventing yourself, taking 2 steps at a time, and you're running. Before you know it, you've resurrected. You are at the top of the staircase. You made it. You're like, woo, I've done it. I've done it. I've reached the top. And you look down to see how far you've come. And you're like, what is that? You see something moving at the bottom of the staircase. And it's a weary hand on that railing, and a hesitant foot on that first step, and a scared little face looking up. Somebody who's been where you were. It's your responsibility to help them through whatever it is you're going through, whether it's a coworker, family member, friend, or stranger. I'm Angel. It's been a pleasure being here today. And I want to thank Glorium Technologies for hosting this incredible event. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can visit my website, follow me on social media, all that good stuff. This really does conclude our virtual summit today, the Health Tech Summit. Thanks again to Glorium Technologies. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Summit begins at 8:45 a.m. There's another impressive lineup of speakers who will be sharing insights on digitizing health, artificial intelligence, remote patient monitoring, team development, data and analytics, health, wellness, and less stress in our new normal. We can't get enough of that. So thank you all. You need to share the most non-tech version of today's summit. Again, don't miss it. We'll see you tomorrow, and be sure to visit Glorium Technologies at gloriumtech.com to download your free ebook there as well. Thank you so much again for your attention, your time, and we wish you all the best for the rest of the day. Be your best self. Bye-bye, everybody.